Welcome to Sports CTO Talks. We will be discussing about various sports and technology discussions on the podcast today. In this series, we would be connecting with industry leaders from across the sports industry, where we will simplify sports and technology for you all. I am Ami, your guide on this journey through the beautiful minds of amazing guest speakers. We will dive deep into discussions about driving the industry from cybersecurity to cloud, from sustainability to AI. If it is sports tech, we are talking about it. Today, we have a very interesting guest with us, Mr. Abhishek Pandey. Abhishek has been working in the technology industry from past 25 years. Recently, he worked as a VP engineering, where he was responsible for innovations across multitude of sports and some of the world's most popular sporting leagues and technology initiatives over the past 11 years. He built and led the Prime Video Sports Experience organization and was responsible for delivering cutting edge live streaming experience for NFL, Thursday Night Football, Major League Baseball, Roland Garros, and several more leagues. And I think everyone has heard of all this. So that is more interesting to have a discussion with Abhishek. He is also a winner of two Sports Emmy Awards for his work on Thursday Night, Consumer and Enterprise World, with domain expertise in sports, media, and entertainment, also including e commerce, healthcare, supply chain, and ENC industries. Abhishek has built large enterprise grade data products, technology platforms, and applications. Abhishek is a people leader and an expert in building scalable, large, geo-distributed, highly productive, and collaborative organizations across multiple tech functions. We welcome you, Abhishek, to the podcast.
Thank you, Amy, for the nice introduction. Looking
Uh,
forward to chatting with you.
Absolutely. So today, Abhishek would be talking and explaining all of us, all the viewers, about how artificial intelligence is shaping the sports business. So let's begin, Abhishek. I will ask you a preliminary first question, which I have in mind from a long time, from when our discussion had started.
Yeah.
So, like everyone is talking about machine learning these days. So, how machine learning algorithms work, or how are they utilized to analyze player performance, matrices, or predict the future or the performance of the trends?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. And I would say machine learning in particular, and then in general, I would say artificial intelligence, which expands to many more areas. Um, I think, first of all, it is fueling a need to collect a lot more data now. All the data which we previously ignored, like people are like trying to look at sensors, camera angles, any kind of data that can be collected. Because machine learning is great at pattern recognition, something a human might miss. So that's the starting point. Like, how can we collect as much data as possible to feed it to our algorithms so they can identify patterns which normal humans or trainers or coaches cannot? The second area, besides the pattern recognition, is computer vision, like looking at camera angles, looking at views from different high resolution cameras. Like, can we look at the form of the player or the athlete? Can we look at the posture? Can we look at mechanics? Like, for example, in cricket, like how the fast bowler's arms are moving. And all of those things are possible now with sophisticated computer vision algorithms. Now, in addition to that, a third area which is also propping up quite a bit, it's around predictive modeling. Like, um, can I scout for a high school player analyzing all the deep metrics and computer vision data to predict what the future looks like? Can we predict the injury risk, like how certain players' forms, postures, mechanics can result in a higher injury risk? Um, we can also use basically these algorithms and computer vision analysis to look at drop-in performance over time and basically adjust our coaching to go along with it. So those are the three areas I would say where a lot of things are happening to improve player performance and basically predict future trends.
Okay. So, as you were discussing this, another question is how is NLP, that is the natural language processing for all the viewers? I'm just spelling out loud,
Yes.
employed to generate real-time commentary or enhance viewer engagement. How does that
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, yeah. That's a great question. And I think one thing I would say, like moving on from like now player performance to like how we can engage the fans in different ways. One of a good example is like the proliferation of all these large language models now. Now, LLMs are pretty good at generating stuff, right? Generating generative AI. An example could be as like a model which not just like generate text, but smart enough to understand the game, the plays, the flags, for example, in football. It knows when there is an appeal made, like this is something important happening. It can also analyze basically the audio data. Like, for example, how is the crowd reacting to a certain play? And basically generate commentary to go along with it. And now, that's one use case is to say, like, understand the game, understand the crowd noise, generate what's going on in real time. A second area where you can basically use NLP is um, real-time social media analysis. So take troves and troves of data coming out of like TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and other social media networks and create trends and analysis out of it in real time, which commentators can help modify their topics as they go along, as they are talking during the game. So that creates a much better fan engagement, topics which your audience really care about, and your commentators are basically taking their approach to it. Another area is interactive Q&A. That's very possible with the generative AI. I mean, a chat bot which answers question about, you know, a stat in the game or a player performance or like how many yards did, the running back has scored so far, things like that. On-demand Q&A. Now, one area on the NLP side, which I am very excited about personally, is the languages and translations. Like, for example, when we were doing cricket in India, India is a vast country with so many different languages. Now, it's very expensive to have different audio broadcasts for different set of languages. And as you can think of, that requires a lot of like, logistical challenges and all. But using AI, you can take one broadcast and basically generate commentary in different languages, 15, 16, 20, you name it, and basically create a very personalized broadcast based on the region of the country you are in, based on the language you speak, and or based on your preferences, based on what we know about you. So very personalized experiences can be created by employing the right NLP algorithms.
Okay. So, as you were saying about different things you can do multiple things at different locations. So, what
Yes.
are few of the technical challenges faced in implementing this automated video generating or the editing of the highlights generated by the AI?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's a good question. So I think one of the key things here is uh, why are we not seeing more automation in like highlight generation, for example? Now, I know of a few startups which are actually working in this space. Um, the big challenge for now is like just the media landscape, how the contracts and streaming rights are distributed, and most of these are distributed to these like large companies who have pretty good reputation in the industry, and the brand is reaching to a lot of people. I mean, like number of people, for example, who watch Super Bowl, a number of people who watch like an important cricket match is in millions, right? So when it comes to automation, the quality bar has to be extremely high. Um, because one bad cut, one bad editing, one bad audio mishap could make you a laughing stock in the world. So at the end of the day, I think it's unless the quality bar is super high of the AI, where it understands the games and the plays and the events to a very high precision, you will see less and less automation on these like bigger high tier one events. Where the value I see is at the scale, like high school football or like smaller events, which are cost prohibitive to employ a lot of humans. You probably start with these automation options on the table and see how it goes.
We,
So that's
sorry.
one challenge. The second big challenge I would add to it, and I think I have touched upon it a little bit, is just the content understanding. How good your automation understands the content. Like, can it truly identify a play based on crowd noise? Can it truly identify where the play starts and where the play ends? So it can create the precise editing possible. Yeah.
So my question was on those lines only. Like, can you explain how the AI algorithm works, to analyze the audience preferences, or how can it tailor the broadcast content? How does the algorithm work?
Yeah. I think so. From the inner workings of these algorithms, I would say there are two major areas. One is basically more implicit. Um, the demographics, like your gender, your age, your race, um, and your geolocation. Like if I am an online streamer like Netflix, I know you have an account with us, so I know who you are. I know a lot more things about you. So a lot of those are just basically implicit. We know because we have all. And then there are like explicit signal the audience is giving to the streamer or broadcaster. One example is content they liked or watched. Like, so a lot of streamers, they have like these thumbs up, thumbs down things. Some of them actually give you what we call is like a preference picker. They'll ask you, hey, what kind of sports you like, what kind of movies you watch, what kind of shows you like. So uh, using the combination of the two, you can create basically algorithms which can drive the broadcast to a point where it seems extremely personal. One good example is, which is already happening quite a bit, is the ads you see during the breaks. Uh, a lot of these ads are these days are hyper personalized. The ad you might see, your neighbor might see a totally different ad during the break. And the reason for that is like because of all these information, um, the streamer is actually showing you the right ad which may generate the most amount of engagement, then showing you something super generic. So, so that's one example how it can be tailored accordingly to the audience preferences.
Okay, so like a little bit more understanding on the real-time analytics, during
Yeah.
these live broadcasts. How does that work?
Yeah. So I think real-time analytics, few things I would call out. One is um, the just the identification of objects and plays, for example, right? Content. Where's the ball tracking? Where is this player X standing in the field? Um, and then you see in certain sports, like in soccer, like when like a corner kick is taken, uh, predicting the trajectory of the ball or predicting the shot, like where it's going to go. Um, and all of these are happening in real time. There is a concept of defensive alert in Thursday Night Football, where the system is predicting what's the next play going to be? Is there going to be a rush coming in? It's also coming in terms of like gamification of the system. The more image recognition or like real-time analytics you have, you can create better engagement content. Um, One other thing I would touch upon is like brand exposure, right? For example, I can analyze the program feed and say how many times uh, on the field I could see the image of certain brand advertised. So a lot of these analytics are going to be very useful for like placements. Um, Celebrity recognition, that's another big area. Uh, it creates fan engagement there. And then in some cases, dynamic graphics overlay. If you can identify an object or an area of the field, you can dynamically overlay things on top, like just the yellow line in football, as a good example of using real-time analytics and image recognition.
Okay, so like as you were saying this, how does the virtual reality or the augmented reality applications specifically impact the fan experience or develop a immersive experience for the fans? And what is the role of AI into that?
Okay, okay. Um, so I would say virtual reality, I think it's going to be it's not a new concept. It's been going on for a long time. Um, it's not a question of technology, it's a question of creating the perfect um, experience for the end users. So one example I'll give you, NFL this year did a Simpsons broadcast. That's a good example of using augmented reality, where you are watching a broadcast of a football game where you are seeing Simpsons character talking during the game or
Absolutely.
and being part of the
Loved
game.
that.
Yes, yes. And there's another version of it as like just the whole gamification aspect. So you are not watching you're watching the actual game, but it's basically 3D animated. Uh, you can pick your favorite character, so you become Tom Brady throwing the football in the field. Another area where immersive experiences can be pretty useful is just the meet and greet with players and coaches, right? Like today, like you don't get a chance to actually talk to your favorite player, Virat Kohli, one-on-one. You can do that with virtual reality, right? He can basically engage with a lot more player sitting from his hotel room. So I think those are some areas where I can see um, applications for these virtual and augmented reality can play a role.
Okay. So, like, what is the role of sentiment analysis, in understanding the fans or responding to emotions or the reactions? And how is it, like taking over the social media platforms?
Correct, correct. Yeah, so I mean, in a nutshell, what sentiment analysis is basically uh, analyzing a ton of like data and coming out with a positive or a negative sentiment associated with it. And the way these systems work is basically diving deep into the keywords used. Like for example, it's like amazing and awesome. Those are very positive words, or like, oh, it was terrible, or like bad. I mean, those are negative emotions. Now, the thing with sentiment analysis is with AI these days now it can go beyond just looking at the keywords and basic level of NLP to actually have a better nuanced understanding of fan experience, finding trends and like what's going on in which is beyond just like positive and negative, and driving commentary to go along with it. And this is where I was going earlier as well is how can we use this real-time analysis to tailor the commentary? And some of it may then involve like humans in the loop, essentially the commentators who are speaking to them in the game or the match. they are fed this information, uh, and they are basically reacting to it in whichever way they want. But it's something uh, that could do a lot more to improve fan engagement, to basically incorporate all the data which is being generated during the live event, and basically create a much better and effective experience for the end users.
Okay. So, when we are talking all about AI, so how is it affecting or benefiting, the traditional methods or the coaches or for scouting purposes? How does that work?
Yeah. So I think that's a great question. So so from a again, like from a scouting perspective, like let's talk more in terms of scouting in general. Um, a lot of it is basically focused around what your team needs, and then what the talent is out there, and how do we marry the two together, right? Um, so the areas where I feel like AI can be extremely useful is um, is again using the computer vision data is to identify the form and mechanics and things like that, and then like other critical performance related data, for example, your speed, your jump, your like whatever matters to that sport, vertical jumps, or like how fast they are running, and then basically incorporating as part of your decision making. Same with coaching. I do not believe like AI is going to replace like a scout or a coach, but it'll make their life much easier. Like earlier, where they were spending a lot more time number crunching or figuring things out. Now, in a nutshell, what they can do is basically use AI to be a more effective coach or a more effective scout. Yeah.
Okay. So, now I want to understand the ethical considerations, the transparency, the reliability. When everyone is moving towards the AI and everyone is talking about integrating it with something or the other. So, what are the measures, one puts in place or a company as a whole puts in place, to ensure transparency, reliability, and trust?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think many different ways you can go about it. I mean, ethical concerns are pretty reasonable. Um, I think the way to do it is it depends upon like where are you trying to incorporate it, where you're trying to incorporate AI, for example. Um, an example would be is like, how are you collecting the data? Are you collecting all of that data through ethical means, right? So that's one example of like how you go about it. I mean, there are laws and rules around it. So make sure you're following those when you're collecting hyper personalized important data. A lot of the personal data is protected by a law called HIPAA in US. Um, so that's one area I think I would say. How the data is collected, that's definitely an ethical concern. The other one is like if you are using AI, for example, in sports to analyze certain plays, like did the ball hit the line in tennis, for example, like Hawkeye systems we use. In those scenarios, you have to be super upfront about documenting your accuracy and error rate so that it's out in the open. Everybody knows that the system is not 100% perfect. It's better than humans, but not 100% perfect. So, I mean, those are some ethical considerations I would think of. The other thing is I would say is like another important aspect of it is human override. In many sports where I have seen technology or AI being used, typically the judge or the ref or the umpire has the final say. So yeah, that's
That was
those.
the, the next question, how can biases in AI algorithms affect the decision making? Does it happen or it does not happen? And if it happens, how is it? How is it framed?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, biases are going to be something which is not a problem with just sports. It's a problem with like collecting any kind of data. So I think that's a real concern, and it's part of the problem is just how the system works today. For example, if I want to build a sports data model or a sports AI model, um, there is no centralized place where I can get all that data. And the data is, I mean, due to various contracts and like how the system works in sports, there's no single entity where I can go and get all the data. So, and in many cases, yes, you'll have a lot more game data, very little practice data exists, which is open for consumption. It's very proprietary to a certain team or a certain like league. So, um, so to improve the biases on that data, I feel like it's a huge opportunity for a startup. Startup which generates synthetic data for sports, and I think if somebody can come up with it, I think that would do a lot for improving, like any kind of AI algorithms or models which are being used in sports. Yeah.
Okay. And when we are talking about the biases, and there's another aspect also, like there are violations happening in the sports.
Yes.
So, what role does or what algorithms can be put in place to see it, to look, feel, and then rule out all the violations, and how can that work?
Correct. Yeah. So I think that's a good question. I think on the rule violation, I think I would say uh, I know there are leagues and teams who are using technology and computer vision analysis to identify those violations, right? Like, as are the players following the rule? Like, like in cricket, many times using video analysis, they have found like people are tampering the ball. Um, in an illegal manner. So I think engaging more and more of these algorithms, I mean, the quality of these algorithms are getting better. There's a lot of open source system out there. There are a lot of things available in the computer vision world, which analyzes like video data, make the right predictions. And now that's one. You can also use like biometrics monitoring, like fingerprints and things like that. The third one, which I think is pretty interesting, is the audio analysis, right? Like, I mean, like I don't know if you follow cricket. In cricket, they have this technology called SNICO. So, did the ball touch the bat or not? And there's a mic which basically picks up sounds.
Correct.
And that's a good way to predict like, hey, this happened. Is this a violation of the rule of LBW, for example? So that's few areas. I think expanding beyond that, I'm sure like there are ways to look at like ethical violation outside of it, like how are the like how's the coaching mechanism applied, etc. Now, all of it is basically saying something. Is basically we are identifying patterns. The system is identifying patterns, and AI is one area where AI is way better than humans is identifying patterns. So
Okay. When
yeah,
you say AI is better, in defining patterns, my
yeah,
next question is, I ask a lot of guests who come on the podcast is like,
yeah.
if you could discuss the potential impact of AI on employment within the sports industry, like right now, and how is it shaping up in the coming years?
Yes, yes, yes. So, um, this is my personal opinion that AI will have zero impact on employment in the sports industry. And the reason I say that, like, I mean, take an example of any industry. Take an example of fitness industry, for example. Now, if you go to YouTube, you'll see a bunch of like yoga classes and self-help videos and how you do your like how to lift weight, how to run on treadmill and things like that. Uh, but has it removed the fitness coaches and yoga instructors completely out of business? The answer is no. They're doing great as well. So the way I would think is the innovation in video and streaming has enabled those fitness coaches and yoga instructors to now reach new audiences and create, let's say, new revenue streams, right? So now, how I see AI impact employment in coaching and scouting um, is it makes their job much more effective. Now they can focus on what they are good at and not have to do these number crunching or like analyzing metrics and patterns because AI can do it better. So they can focus on like, hey, how can I improve the mechanics on my athletes? How can I improve the recovery period coming back from an injury, or any kind of performance areas? Like so, less analyzing and more improving. I think that's the way I see um, mm, AI will empower them to do things better.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you on this. So, my next question is that, how do you envision, the future integration of AI into businesses, specifically sport businesses, because it's evolving, and it's evolving very fast. So, in the next decade, how do you see that coming decade?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we'll see a lot more integration of AI in the on the field systems as well as the off the field systems. For example, when I say off the field systems, like creating more engaging and deeper fan experience when like the teams are not playing, for example, right? Um, Demand forecasting for merchandise on e-commerce, right? Like should I produce like jerseys for Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma in equal numbers, or should I have a better prediction? You know, um, Evaluating athlete performance, right? That's another area where you'll see a lot more AI coming in. Um, the next one, which is kind of controversial, is contract negotiation. Like uh, now AI is giving a lot more power where you can have a much more predictive valuation of your, assets. And then like few areas around like in-game adjustments, right? Like come halftime, you have collected the first half of the data. Now, can you react? Can the coaches and the trainers and the fitness people can react and adjust the roster, adjust the game plan, adjust like coaching strategy in the second half, as well as like just the faster recovery of athletes. Like I mean, you get hurt, you get injured. How can AI drive better, recovery time for you? So those are a few areas I think it'll be exciting to see how they evolve.
Okay. Like now, I have a lot of more questions, but we will move on to the next segment. That is the
Correct.
rapid fire round.
Yes.
I will ask you a few questions, but you will have to be very quick in answering. You
Okay.
cannot think, okay?
Okay.
Okay. If AI could create perfect athlete, what sport would they dominate?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say it's got to be 100-meter dash.
Okay. Would you rather have an AI coach or an AI referee?
Personally, I would have neither, but if I have to select one, I would use AI as a referee. Definitely not a
Okay.
coach. Yes.
Okay. If a robot team played a human team in any sport, who would win?
Well, so I would say that depends upon the sport and the robot, but I would never underestimate humans.
Absolutely. If AI could predict one sports event perfectly, which one would you want it to be?
I would say none, because that will just basically kill sports in general. I mean, that'll take the fun away from sports completely. The unpredictable nature of the outcome is what exciting about this sport.
If you could be a sports superstar, past or present, who would it be? If you get,
Well,
to be for one day, who would it be?
past or present superstar. I would say probably Tom Brady for a day.
Okay. If AI had a favorite sport, what would it be?
I think it'll be some sort of strategy game like chess or like some kind of like self-driving car racing each other, you know?
Okay. And if
Yeah.
AI was a coach, what would its pep talk sound like?
Um, It'll sound like some gibberish with no emotions, I would say.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
If AI made new sports, what crazy rule would it include?
Um, I think I would say who can go the longer without hallucinating.
Okay, that's a nice one. Okay.
Yeah.
If imagine AI powered mascots, what would yours look like?
Well, so I'm a big fan of Philadelphia Eagles. As I was thinking of like maybe an Eagles mascot swoosh who actually talks in like South Jersey accent.
Okay. And what is your go-to food during any event? Home cooked food, outside food, stadium food, what would it be? Name one.
Okay, so it's I mean for me it's usually game days followed by some homemade nachos.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. That was a good job you did on the rapid fire. Now
Thanks.
we will move on to the next segment. That is, you will have to answer one single question into 30 seconds.
Okay.
My question to you is like, as we were discussing AI throughout the podcast, so in 30 seconds, how is AI shaping the sports business?
Yeah. So AI has many tentacles. AI is not just doing one thing, AI is doing a lot more things. There is a lot more activity happening, as you can see on the LLM space. Now, the agentic AI is coming in, basically automating a lot more workflows which humans used to do. There is no single answer of like, hey, where this AI is going to basically take over. And the way I am looking at it, this is an opportunity to offer gold rush, typically in a sport segment. Now, there are implications around coaching. There's implications about scouting. There are implications around like fan experiences, the athlete performance, the player performance, etc., etc. My biggest bet, if I have to say where AI is going in sports, I would say the biggest area of innovation I see is in mostly just creating a better fan experience, a much personalized game viewing experience, which is engaging, which is tailored to my needs, and which is super personalized. That's one area I see because majority of the people who consume sports, they consume through some sort of media, streaming or television or something like that. A small percentage actually are in the stadium watching it, but there's a big opportunity to basically innovate in this streaming space.
Absolutely. Thank you, Abhishek, for the insightful podcast and joining us today.
All right, thank you, Amy. It was nice connecting and great chat.
Absolutely. So, everyone, let's stay connected for more understanding of sports technology in the future. Don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, families, and all the people who love sports and technology. That was Abhishek sharing his wonderful insights and his experience today. Thanks for tuning in once again, and we'll meet you in the next episode. Till then, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring.